18, 19-year-old kids. And you're taking them in the worst places on the planet and getting them to do unspeakable things, in defense of the country. But it's got to be hard. And he said to me, well, Jeff, it's actually pretty simple. I've been in a lot of different platoons, a lot of different groups, and I've been under a lot of different leaders. And every day I get up in the morning, I think about, be the leader I always wish I had. We know what good leadership looks like. We've seen it all the time. We also know what bad leadership looks like. He says, I just try to discern between the two, and I try to be the leader for these guys that I wish I had every day when I was coming up. Something for you guys to think about, because you guys are the next leader. The question is, when you leave here, whether it's fair or not, people expect a lot of you, because you guys are in a position to do things that other kids aren't in a position to do because of where you are, where you live, and the education you're getting here at Malvern Prep. So the question I like to end with is, what will your legacy be? Thanks for listening, guys. I appreciate it. If you have any questions, I think we have some time, right?
Yeah, we have a good 15 minutes. So, first, you guys, questions? You had any questions before? Any questions?
Any questions
anything
at all?
you heard?
Don't be shy.
Yeah. Come on, somebody has a question.
Someone's got to.
I know, look, I'm a really smart guy, and I explain everything perfectly.
Perfect, exactly.
That's
All
not
right,
true.
I'll start up. So,
Yeah.
can you describe that conversation? So, and we've gone over this roughly, but this is the first time these guys exposed to anything. So, learning it, you learn something once, you're not an expert in it. First of all, what do you mean by you ran a hedge fund and then you went and got you raised all this capital, you raised all this money? Just briefly explain to them what you mean by a hedge fund, and then give us your typical conversation. In other words, you go in and you're trying to convince potential investors that your idea of investing is somehow superior to other alternatives.
Yeah, it's a great question. So, hedge fund essentially is a private, pooled investment company. So we started the company, and the idea is we would go to investors, we would ask them to give us money, we would invest on their behalf, because we have an idea that we think can make them money. The idea of a hedge fund was created in the 70s through lots of legislation and things were going on Wall Street, that if you invest in a mutual fund, what you're planning on is for the companies that you invest in to be more valuable at some time later, later in time. So you put money into them, you hope that they grow, and when you need the money, you hope they'll be more valuable, and that's how you make money. A hedge fund allows you to hedge your bet. So I can bet on one company that's going to be more valuable, but I can bet on another company or with another tool that says if the market goes down, I'm betting on the market going down, so I make money whether the market goes up or the market goes down. That's essentially the theory of a hedge fund that allows me to hedge my bet in some way, right? So we created a bunch of products that allowed us to invest in companies that we thought were practicing conscious capitalism. So we had a basket of about 200 companies that we had done research on. So we bet on those companies to grow, and then we do something we call a short. A short is we're betting against the value of the investment going up. So we shorted the overall market. So we shorted the S&P. So if our companies went up, we made money. If the market went down, we made money. It's not perfect, but that's essentially how it works, right? So that's the theory of a hedge fund. And going out and raising money, really bad time, right? But we were talking about a way of thinking about business that no one else was talking about.
You actually did. In the last clip, you just touch on like Bear Stearns and Lehman again, like tell them with that environment.
So we're in an environment, two of the largest and oldest firms on Wall Street went out of business in about 6 or 9 months. So we're in an environment where these companies were worth billions of dollars 6 months ago, and then 6 months later they were completely out of business, they were bankrupt, they were simply gone. It's like if you think about education in the United States has gotten so bad that we're just going to close Malvern Prep tomorrow. You guys just all go home, and that's it. That's what was happening on Wall Street. So it was a pretty crazy time. And the way that we were able to raise money in that time, one, the thesis was pretty simple. We said, look, if you believe what we say, then there's a way to think about operating businesses that most people aren't analyzing, and we think that's the thing that engineers businesses to be successful. Wall Street looks at financial returns. They look at P&L and balance sheet. We say that's the stuff above the waterline, if you're thinking about the analogy of an iceberg. What we were looking at was the stuff below the waterline, all the things that held up that financial performance. So it's what we call upstream from financial performance. So if we could understand that employees were highly engaged, we could make an assumption that at some point in the future, that engagement would turn into financial returns. So that was the story we were telling. And we had a couple of smart people on the street that said, we'll test it with you. We had a firm, another hedge fund, they gave us $10 million, and they said they had $9 billion under management.
Get a nickel to that.
So $10 million was nothing to them. They said, we'll test it with you. And as they tested it and saw it kept working, they kept giving us more and more and more money, taking us to their clients, and that's sort of how it worked.
And then in the last class, I like that story about Walmart versus Costco.
Yeah. So we talked about this notion of to create this culture of caring. And what are we really, what are we looking for? When we care about employees, we do it because it's the right thing to do. But we also do it because if I'm a CEO and you work for me and I'm giving you a paycheck, what do I want from you?
Work to be done.
I want work to be done. More importantly, I want you to do more than I'm paying you for. I want what we call discretionary effort, right? I want you, yes, you have a job description, and I want you to go above and beyond, right? I can't pay you to go above and beyond, right? It's really hard. I mean, payment's the ticket to the dance, right? I gotta pay you a fair wage compared to what everyone else is paying, but I can't really pay you to incentivize you to go above and beyond. To a certain extent I can, but it's easier for me to get you to care, to really want to go above and beyond, whether I pay you for it or not. So all of the stuff we're talking about, it drives performance in a business context because it gets those stakeholders, employees, suppliers, community, customers, to care more about my success, right? So if you think about this, we talked about communities and barriers to entry, right? So if I'm a good community, a good citizen in the community, why is that good? Some people say, well, it's just corporate social responsibility. And we say, okay, it could be, and that's a good thing to do. But think about the comparison between Walmart and Costco. You guys know Walmart? You know Costco?
Yeah.
So Walmart has a unit called Sam's Club,
Yeah.
right? And Costco. So Costco and Sam's Club are essentially the same business, right? Membership, you buy in bulk, lower prices, right?
Yep.
If I come to Malvern to open a Sam's Club, I don't know the demographics of Malvern that great, but let's just sort of take it on its face. You've probably seen this before. When Walmart comes into the community, lots of folks in the community get up in arms. Walmart's coming, they're going to destroy the small businesses, they're going to, they don't pay their employees enough, we're going to have to subsidize them. You get lots of people saying, we don't want a Walmart, right? In Washington, D.C., the city council actually tried to pass a law to keep Walmart from coming to D.C. So that happens. Whether I agree with it or not, whether you agree with it or not, doesn't matter, that happens. Costco is the same exact business. That never happens to them. So, as an investor, what do I look at? I'm like, okay, if I'm going to invest in a retailer, I think I'd rather invest in Costco. Because when they go to open new stores, they don't have the same legal expenses, they don't have the same regulatory problems. It's the same business, and for years, Wall Street has been down on Costco and high on Walmart. Why? Because the analysts, the retail analysts, the guys who look at retail stores on Wall Street and tell investors whether they should invest in a retailer, say Costco spends too much money on training, They pay people too well. They do all these things. That's not their money, that's the shareholders' money. They don't look at the whole system. Because they do those things, when they come into a new community, they don't have that pushback, and therefore, if you had invested $1 in Costco 15 years ago versus $1 in Walmart, I think the spread now is something like 30x. You would have made 30 times more money on Costco than you would have on Walmart, right? Why? Because they care more, right? So.
You guys have any other questions? Like, I think one of the most important points Mr. Chair is making here is the idea of leadership and who you want to work for and what type of leader you want to be. Let me give you, for instance, in my life. When I was a senior, when I was in Maverick, we got grades every 6 weeks. We got six report cards. You guys have it easy. I only get a report card every twice a year. At the end of the year is over. So parents can't even punish you then, right? So I had an English teacher, this guy, Mr. Ellis, and for the first 3 marking periods, I got an A, right? In the 4th marking period, I got a B. Now, my parents didn't care. I was already in college, and so I don't think my dad knew what grades I got, right? As long as the teacher didn't call my house, he didn't care. Right? So that teacher came and saw me and said, I'm really disappointed in your effort this past month. You can do better. And then, I didn't feel bad because my grade was bad. I felt bad because I let him down, thinking, I really liked him as a person. He was an inspirational guy. His class was interesting. And I thought, man, I let this guy down. That's the type of leader you want to be. Is sort of inspiring people. Like that, what was your name? The military for your
Sean.
friend? Right. Well, what is your definition there of a leader?
I try to be the leader I wish I always had.
Right. I try to be the leader I wish I always had. If you guys didn't write that down in your notebook, you're wasting time today. I would write that down. I would text that to myself. That's a good life philosophy to live by. I try to be the leader I wish I had. All right, guys, we only got about, 5 minutes? Will you go to 11:30 or 11:36?
I think it's at 11:40, I think he said.
11:36, I think. So, you guys have any other, take advantage.
You guys in the back have any questions?
Yeah. What comments, Gary?
So, isn't the crux of this what you got to at the end with Costco, which is, it is about making money, but it's the long-term value that you create by being a conscious player in the market? I mean, isn't at the end of the day,
As I said,
the theory that you make more money in the long run?
if you don't make money as a business, you have a hobby, right? And none of us are here for hobbies, right? You have to make money if you're operating a business. And the question is, how do you make that money, right? Because we believe how you make the money matters. We also believe that if you believe how you make the money matters, in the long term, you'll make more money, right? We believe those things. What we also believe, and we know this to be true, if you focus myopically on only the money, you will miss the opportunity to make those decisions to create more value in the long term. Right? That's the sort of the nuance.
So like another way of looking at it is you have, earnings times multiple gives you, a market price. The earnings is really the intrinsic value, tangible value, financial value, and then times the multiple. Then there's an intangible value of a company. So this would fall, which is usually 3 or 4 times, in a multiple sense. It could be 3, 4, 5, 10 times more in a multiple sense than the tangible value.
Yeah. There's a company called Ocean Tomo that we used to use when we ran a hedge fund. They are a intellectual property investment bank. And they did a lot of research on that. Probably going to get the dates exactly, not exactly right, but about 1970, the difference between the value of the S&P, the book value of the S&P, and the market value of the S&P, based on what was happening on Wall Street, trades on a daily basis, was about 10%. So you can look at book value. Book value represented 90% of the value of the market. Today, book value represents about 10% of the value of the market. Everything else is intangible value, right? So Ocean Tomo started out saying intangible value is about IP and all those sorts of things. We believe that's a portion of intangible value, and now you have something else. We believe that that purpose, leadership, those things are part of the intangible value that are driving the multiple.
The qualitative soft skills.
And Jeff, I think putting a bow on it, I think what you're kind of saying too is it's almost like the field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. Like Costco example, if you're taking care of the customer, if you're focused on their needs, their desires, taking good care of them in a respectful way, social impact way, the profits will come. Because people will flock to that company that they cognizantly know is the company that is doing the ethical thing, that is meeting the needs of that customer. And profits will go up. Well, if you do the reverse and just focus on revenue and profits to the forsaking the customer and their needs, you're not going to be long-term in any kind of marketplace.
We say that, that's exactly right, we say that companies sometimes that focus on shareholders, often myopically, often do so to the detriment of all the other stakeholders that are required to create value. This is not a new idea, right? It's new ideas are reborn all the time. There was a book written in the 80s at Harvard called The Service Profit Chain. Conscious capitalism is the expansion of this thing. Service profit chain is pretty simple. Service profit chain says if you take really good care of your employees, they'll take really good care of your customers, and you'll make a lot of money, right? We've just expanded the service profit chain to include taking really good care of your employees, your suppliers, your community, the planet, and your customers. You do all that, you make money.
All right, you guys, we gotta wrap it up, so, quick round of applause, thank you so much. The middle school guys, we not gonna break down.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Where do you guys have class now, though, right? Do you? Oh, you guys, yeah, if you can meet, yeah, we got a couple minutes, yeah, that's fine.
Can I meet with Jake, Henry, and Joe?
For the group stuff,
Mr. Kelly, wait, what's the ethics? I have a 0 for the ethics, I don't even know what.
The notes, take the notes in the video.
The what? Are you talking about when he was when you were out?
No.
No, there was like a video.
It's been on my mouth for one.
What? Oh, that, alright, I have that, I'll share it with him. I've never shared it.
No, share me, they're handwritten.
I'll show you my updated notes.
Austin, they have to be handwritten.
Mr. Kelly,
It says on the assignment. What?
doesn't matter.
I think in 2 minutes it starts. 36.
Wait, yo, can I show you my updated notes? Ryan, please do that?
Hey, no worries.
Yeah, I did. 3 videos? Oh, okay. Yeah,
Where's Jared?
I got
Yo, this is what you take notes. Take notes. Send this assignment like 2 minutes ago.
I'll show you next class. Alright, so you said this page. Well, I showed you this page and then I took more.
So I meet with my guys tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just
Okay.
email them like on 2:15.
Is that what time? I think it is. That's the time I planned. You can meet with them at that time. It's perfect.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, great.
What do you want me to meet here or?
So 24.
Yeah.
So we have plans to get normally. So we can be there.
What's it, 24
Actually,
Newcastle?
no, yeah. Yeah, probably. And then
Meet you guys. Okay. Yeah, and I can tell, in my background and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, biotech.
How do they have DNA of the guy who fell to make
I've spoken with consumers in the past.
How do they have the DNA?
I'm a member of the National Bio. So, yeah, I'll bring that in a little bit into play on the capital. Yeah.
I feel like this is all
aliens.
Well, I'm 25 years biotech business, sales, and marketing. So, yeah, I'll put a little 5-minute thing together on that. And it's, which building is it again? good counsel, okay, I'll be in there.
Grandma took a genetic test that said he's related to the guy who fell off the big bus.
Okay, and the whole idea is to see if like, we can get a project going, see
How
what
do
we,
you
and I'll come up with some ideas, where to direct them, maybe, I might even get like a case study or a company, an actual company, what with the opioid crisis, one of them too is, yeah. Well, yeah, well, it's coming to mind now, there's something called Purdue Frederick that was selling Oxycontin physicians who were unethically, and they allowed their sales and marketing stuff. I could come with like 10 different things that guys can work on. As far as this direction on this. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, and I'll see you tomorrow, Jake. Thanks, pal. We'll see you. Okay.
Mr. Fred wants to know if we're meeting tomorrow or when we're meeting.
When can he meet?
Yeah, he said, tomorrow.
Thanks, Gary.
Yo, Kroger.
We're done, we're done. I'm done.
Where are you going?
Just hang out here, it's fine. I can just hang out here. What's that?
I'm gonna go over with the cameras guys, we're gonna watch it from right here.
It's really good. Kim, thanks for your help.
Oh, yeah, no problem. How?
Probably that.